MH or Mary Helen Nsangu. I am just a regular Brookline resident. There is no formal entity behind this thing. And a number of us came together and decided that as the world stands up to protest racism in American law enforcement, so too must Brookline. So today we're marching for Rachel's justice in our own community. We're angry at the deaths of Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, and the countless others who have died in the hands of police. And by the failure, we are also angry at the failure of our legal system to hold people accountable for their deaths.
In the South, I knew that I could buy ice cream at the counter in the nearby drugstore, but I could not sit down to eat it there. I had to eat it outside.
I was just super stressed out, like my first day in the cafeteria. One, because I was a freshman, and if you guys know, going into the cafeteria the first week as a freshman is like the line is all the way at the restaurant, and you're trying to get your food before the period is over, and you're trying to find like your group of friends. And for me, I thought my group of friends would be the kids that I went to elementary school with, that I was in 8th grade like 3 months ago with. And no, that wasn't the case.
8th grade, when I realized I was the only black girl graduating in like my whole grade. So there was other black boys, so I was the only black girl. And I didn't really know, I didn't care, but it was just, I was like, this is different.
For me, so given the way I was raised, I don't become fixated on the acts of racism and stuff like this. It's like, so one of the things, and I know this is about King, but I have to mix my father in because he was involved. So one of the things my father used to say is racism is like rain. If it ain't raining, it's somewhere fixing the rain.
I don't think we're in post-racial America. I mean, I just think, take a look at what's happened in the last 6 months in the country. I think it hit a tipping point with what happened in Ferguson. I think that even though that was the tipping point, I think the flashpoint was the police were part of the flashpoint. I also think it goes beyond the police departments, the policing as a whole. I think you have to look at how our education is done across the country, how the employment opportunities, housing opportunities. There's a lot to it, and I don't believe that we're at the end of to say that race is no longer an issue. Race is an issue. I mean, I just think that it has to get talked about, it has to get worked on. It can't be something that says, okay, we're going to put that in the back burner because it's here. And I would have liked to have said that we were out of that type, but it's not, in my opinion.
As incidents come up in the country today, and we think about racism and the ending of racism, I think we have to go back to what King was about. If you look at the early literature, it wasn't really about ending racism. It was about establishing the beloved community. And he had a much fuller, much more comprehensive vision of what America could be. And his focus was on an end state that had to do with us living in community. It wasn't as much his concern to end racism or to end segregation. Those were mileposts along the way toward the ultimate vision, which was a thing that he called beloved community.
I think that one of the things that we can do as part of an exchange is for people to realize that to talk about color blindness or unaware of color is not something that can be taken for, well, that actually can be assured there's no reason for it. We live in a society in which color is very much a part of who one is and how people respond to you. So it isn't an expectation that people will not see color that I think is achievable or even desirable. What is desirable is for people to have a better sense of how our lives are the same and how they differ.
Like the hierarchy of, if you're elite, you can literally say whatever you want about anybody in any ethnic group because you have a lot of money and you are at the top of like the hierarchy and your social status is like awesome. If you just shut down like the stereotypes all the way at the top, then like the entire ladder of like hierarchy just shatters, and then there's really nothing left but like I'm just as equal as you, like my skin color, like the ethnic group that I associate myself with doesn't matter anymore. It's just me and you, like one-on-one.
Being an ally means going beyond just logic and thoughts. In order to be a good ally, it also takes empathy. Being willing to walk in that person's shoes for a while, to actually allow oneself to feel the other person's emotions and go through, just for a moment even, what they're going through. And that makes being an ally that more powerful, that more effective.
Are we satisfied with the way things are in the country? Martin Luther King did what he was supposed to do, and he did it well. And our lives are immeasurably better because of that. But now the question is, what do we want? And what are we willing to do individually, to make this a kind of society and country that we would be proud of?